The ATF doesn't need a bigger budget or a radical anti-gun activist to lead it. I'm Phil with the Minuteman Moment. Today's video was presented to you in the context of a recent New York Times article. You can find the link to that article in the description below. You should take a look. Or don't. Whatever, I'm not your father. But here's the basic outline. According to the New York Times, President Biden needs the ATF to be a key piece in his plans for more gun control. But the Times thinks that the ATF is underfunded and understaffed. You hate to see it. The article concludes that Congress should give the ATF more money and take off the legislative handcuffs so the agency can get to the hard work of, you guessed it, enforcing gun control. So here's our ask for all the Second Amendment supporting members of Congress. First, do not vote for David Chipman to be the head of the ATF. Second, the ATF budget and resources should be decreased. President Biden has already said he wants the ATF to step up its anti-gun activities, including increased gun bans, gun confiscation, and gun registration. So why would anyone want to reward them with a confirmed agency head who's anti-gun and with more funding? Gun owners are demanding that Congress take the steps necessary to ensure the Biden administration does not have the tools it needs to implement these arbitrary and ineffective policies. Here is a short but not at all comprehensive list of everything the ATF has done to violate our Second Amendment rights. It outlawed bump stocks, yet thanks to a GOA lawsuit, the Sixth Circuit recently said the ATF arbitrarily regulated bump stocks as machine guns. That had the legal consequence of labeling gun owners as criminals for the last 2 years, and GOA's case is still ongoing. But some people want to reward this? We are also expecting the ATF to redefine the law to ban 80% receivers. You know, the guns you can make at home? This could come at any day. And a lot of times when the ATF reinterprets its own regulations, it's because of political pressure, not some newfound appreciation for how they should interpret the law. So the Time wants to give more money, power, and radical leadership to an agency that bends with the political winds. And of course, Biden promised that they'll go after pistol braces. ATF's about to demand that gun owners register, destroy, turn in, or rebuild their pistol AR-15 or face 10 years in a federal prison and $250,000 in fines per gun. But it's just one more example of the ATF attacking Americans for exercising their rights. Any member of Congress who supports bankrolling them in the next funding bill or supports David Chipman is telling you and GOA's 2 million members and activists that they don't support gun rights. The New York Times article is also totally lacking in self-awareness. It mentions that ATF agents prioritize high-level operations over the more mundane core mission of inspecting and licensing gun dealers. Sounds like the ATF is just looking for attention at the expense of its primary mission, but the New York Times thinks the problem is money. The Times also mentioned the decades-old case of the ATF shooting and paralyzing a man after breaking down his door, pursuant to a tip that the suspect was engaged in illegal activity. And despite that incident, which sparked national outrage, the Times determines that, yeah, the ATF needs more money. Do you remember when the ATF caused the murders of over 70 innocent Americans in Waco, Texas? The ATF attacked a religious minority called the Branch Davidians. Men, women, and children were burned alive because of the ATF's violent assault on peaceful families. And jumping back to the ATF's attention-seeking behavior I mentioned a moment ago, the code name for the Waco siege was Showtime. David Chipman was involved in that case, by the way. And I bet you can guess what the Times thinks is the proper result for an agency that kills religious minorities. Cash. And most recently, Operation Fast and Furious. The ATF-led gun-running operation cost the lives of an untold number of people in Mexico. But we know that the firearm used to kill an American border agent came directly from this ATF program. He'd still be alive, but for the ATF's dirty practices. But the ATF wants to reward these disgusting ATF tactics with money and power. In every one of the ATF failures I just mentioned, never once does the Times suggest that the ATF itself is the problem. The press is so out of touch. Anyone who supports David Chipman and increasing the ATF's budget is on the wrong side of the Second Amendment. That's it for today. I'm Phil with the Minuteman Moment.